all Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, my friends, now that we're officially, done talking about the Rams, we're now moving into the Bucs and the game that's coming up on Sunday at 1 o'clock, there was something that I was thinking about here with this upcoming game, and I kind of hinted at it a little bit when I talked about it, with the whole thing about the Lions offense and, how they should be able to take advantage of a certain thing with the Buccaneers defense about, their cornerbacks and everything else. And I thought, okay, that's a really good introduction to, this whole concept we're about to have here, because I'm telling you this right now. One thing that I'm absolutely 100% behind is the belief that Jameson Williams is going to continue to light it up around the NFL. I have no doubt in my mind that Jameson Williams is probably going to crack 1,000 yards this year. No doubt in my mind. Because Jameson Williams is a guy that he does not have to touch the ball, 8-9 times a game to get to 100 yards. Jameson Williams only needs to touch a ball maybe 4 or 5 times and he's at 100 yards. So Jameson Williams has that capability to be that very explosive kind of pass threat that we've been waiting for. And now he's officially broke out. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I fully expect and I fully believe that this game against the Buccaneers, Jameson Williams is about to have an encore performance. I believe he's going to have an even bigger showing than what we saw against the Rams on Sunday night. Because that game against the Rams was a massive breakout performance for Jameson Williams. That was something that we have been waiting for ever since we drafted him a couple of years ago. And Jameson Williams showed by far that night he was the most explosive player on the field. No one could touch him. And Jameson Williams is without a doubt probably the most explosive player that we have on our entire team outside of maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. But you go back to that game, freaking Jameson Williams had 5 catches for 121 yards, 24.2 an average a catch, and 1 receiving touchdown, which was on a 52-yard bomb. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. Jared Goff targeted Jameson Williams, I think it was 8 times. And obviously he caught 5 of them. But that 1 catch was, I think, a screen route that didn't really go anywhere. So practically almost all of Jameson Williams' production came off of 4 catches. That's insane. Pretty much that tells me that Jameson Williams, whenever he touched the ball outside of that 1 screen catch, he was getting 30 yards almost every time he caught the ball. That is wild. And let's not forget about the fact that Jameson Williams is still a threat to run the ball too, because he actually had a run for 13 yards in that game as well. So Jameson Williams is a guy that at all times defenses have got to know where the hell he is at. Because if they don't, they're going to get burned. And the same is also true for other guys on our offense, such as Sam Laporta, such as, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have to know where these guys are at. Otherwise, they are going to do damage. Well, here's what I'm going to say. Jameson Williams, because of his speed, even if you try to keep track of him, he's going to simply blow you away with his speed. He has got speed that is almost second to none. I think the only other guy that could probably beat him in a foot race would probably be Tyreek Hill. But outside of that, with the Lions getting set for this playoff rematch against the Buccaneers from last year, and obviously the regular season game on top of that, I'm telling you this right now. The Lions, Jared Goff, Jameson Williams, they have a huge opportunity to even further build upon what they did in that first game as far as the connection, the chemistry, the cohesion. Because I believe that with the Buccaneers defensive secondary in the condition that it's in, and it's even worse than when I made my recording for the actual, video that I made prior to this, talking about the overall sense in general. Because I already reported about how Bryce Hall, the number 3 cornerback for the Bucs, is going to IR because he freaking broke his fibula and he also dislocated his ankle. So he's done. Then you take a look at, like I said, Zion McCollum. He's dealing with a concussion, which those are very finicky. You don't know if you're going to be able to clear the concussion protocol or not. Then you take a look at Josh Hayes, who's the number 4 cornerback. He's dealing with an ankle injury. For cornerbacks, they have to be able to cut, run, and do a whole lot of stuff. So if your ankle's not able to go, that's going to be a problem. And right there was literally cornerbacks number 2, 3, and 4. But now, more news has come out that the starting free safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., he is most likely going to be out because he's dealing with a severe sprained ankle. So it's like, okay, here. You don't have your number 2 corner. You may or may not have your number 3 and number 4 corner. And you are almost assuredly not going to have your starting free safety. I'm going to tell you this right now. You throw backups in or people off a practice squad against Jameson Williams, he going to have a field day. He is going to literally run freaking like a gazelle throughout that defensive backfield because the only starting corner that the Bucs have left is Jamal Dean, and Jamal Dean can't cover everybody. He can only cover one guy at a time. So it's like, okay, here, pick your poison. Do you decide to cover Amon-Ra St. Brown and leave somebody else to try and cover JMO? Or do you try and cover Jameson Williams and leave somebody to try and cover the much slower but much more craftier Amon-Ra St. Brown? Again, it's a pick your poison kind of concept. There's really no way, unless you have another starting quality corner, that you can try and manage that. And again, like I said, the Bucs are missing their number 2 corner for sure, and they have no idea if their number 3 or number 4 corner is going to be ready. So it's like, okay, here. That's a bit of a problem for the Bucs, but it's a huge opportunity for Goff and Jameson Williams to absolutely just, air it out and, continue to build upon what they had in the last game against the Rams. And I fully expect that they're going to. Because I'm telling you this right now, for Jameson Williams, now that he's actually had a taste of the kind of success that not only he's been wanting, but what Lions fans have been wanting to see from him, he's not about to stop. Again, success is a drug that as soon as you get it, you want more of it. And I hate using that analogy, but it's kind of true. Because as soon as you start having success, you don't want to stop. You want to continue to build upon what you had. And so for me, you've now got a Jameson Williams who is very highly motivated, and he's got a huge chip on his shoulder, and he's wanting to prove all of his doubters, all of his naysayers wrong. So I guarantee you, he's looking at the same situation that I'm looking at, but obviously he's looking at it more of a professional. Plus, on top of that, even though I'm a fan and I'm taking a look at this like, number 2, number 3, number 4, these guys are potentially out or going to be out, you're still dealing with professional players on a football field. So even though they might not be starters, Jameson Williams is going to look at it like, hey, you know what? No matter who's across from me, I'm going to play like it's the best cornerback in the world because I have to give my best effort on every single play so that way I have the best chance of making a play. So for me, when you put all that into perspective and you start looking at it from that viewpoint, I'm really, really confident that Jameson Williams is going to be able to have an encore to that massive breakout performance he had in Week 1 against the Rams. The further reason I think that this is going to happen is because, let's go back to last year, shall we? You go back to that game in the regular season against the Bucs. One of the biggest plays from that game was when Jared Goff, again, threw a bomb to Jameson Williams, and he was in the end zone, caught it for a touchdown. So already we know that the Bucs have seen some of what Jameson Williams can do. But unlike everybody else, in the NFL who has not seen Jameson Williams up close and personal like the Lions personnel have had, this offseason, Jameson Williams has a whole bunch more to his repertoire that most people have not yet seen. And then there's the final reason why I think this is going to work well in Jameson Williams' opinion. In my opinion for Jameson Williams. I had that backwards. It's because of the quarterback. Jared Goff, I'm telling you this right now, This game that he's going into, I don't know what it is about Jared Goff, but whenever he plays Todd Bowles, he seems to have Todd Bowles' number. Because you go back to the last 2 games that Jared Goff played against the Bucs, he was absolutely magnificent in how he was able to handle Todd Bowles' very complex defense. He absolutely was tearing it apart, shredding it, handling the blitzes very well, and obviously, that also factors in the wide receivers doing their job, the offensive line giving good protection and everything, but what I'm trying to say here is that when you have a quarterback that knows what the hell he's doing, plus also understands what the defense is trying to do to him on a very, detailed, minute level, that is going to give even more opportunities to the wide receivers because now they don't have to potentially worry if the quarterback's going to do something that they're now going to have to try and fix or try and, alter as the ball's in air. Because if you don't believe me, think about it this way, folks. Go back to the Jets for the last couple of years. Because of how poor their quarterback play was, their wide receivers were always having to constantly make adjustments and try and, compensate for their poor quarterback play. Garrett Wilson especially. Well, now that Garrett Wilson has Aaron Rodgers, that's no longer really going to be as much of a problem. And I'm not trying to say anything special about Aaron Rodgers. It's just a matter of fact. Aaron Rodgers is probably the best quarterback that the Jets have had in quite a while. And obviously for Garrett Wilson, he's glad to have him. But bringing it back to this conversation about Jared Goff and Jameson Williams, Jared Goff's ability to play well against Todd Bowles' defense tells me he understands a lot of what Bowles is going to try and do to get him off his game. So he's going to naturally be able to react to that and know how to handle it. And now that Jameson Williams and Jared Goff have this chemistry, they have this connection that is now much better, it's deeper, it's stronger than it's ever been, and we already saw evidence of that last week, I fully expect that the Lions are going to try and take advantage of that due to the weaknesses that are already evident in the Buccaneers secondary. And that, for me, I think is a huge thing we should look for in this upcoming game because I fully expect that the Lions are going to do that because realistically, if you go back to the game that the Bucs had against the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels really didn't do a whole lot to challenge their cornerbacks. It was primarily, Jaden Daniels would drop back to pass, and when he couldn't find anybody or when he was getting pressured, he would just run. And I'm going to tell you this right now, that's not going to happen with Jared Goff. First and foremost, because he's not as fleet as foot of, Jaden Daniels, but Jared Goff is able to read and recognize defenses immensely better than Jaden Daniels, and for obvious reasons. But because of those obvious reasons, it's going to afford Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and all the rest of them a massive amount of opportunities to make plays. It's just going to be, one, can they get all their stuff in a group and actually, build that cohesion, get themselves back on the right track, getting themselves in the right frame of mind for this game. And I totally expect that they will. Because, again, if you go back to last year, the Lions weren't that exactly, how should I say it, in the most mid-season form when we played the Chiefs on, Thursday night for the season opener. But the very next game when we played the Seahawks, even though we lost that game, the performances by our players were a lot better because they'd already kind of started getting themselves back into that game mode. So for me, I'm already expecting that when we play the Bucs on Sunday, we should be in a much better execution phase than where we were on Sunday night against the Rams. Plus, on top of that, all of our guys are primarily healthy. We shouldn't have anybody that not playing this week. And in fact, we should actually get additions this week that should help us out. But that's primarily on the defense, not on the offense. And that's a different story. But having said that, I think I've explained myself pretty well as far as why I think Jameson Williams is due for yet another mammoth, massive, giant, huge performance against the Bucs. And I'm fully expecting that something like that is going to happen. But we'll see, obviously, what happens on Sunday. But until then, I just want to say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, to please make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Also want to highly encourage y'all to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can, especially your Lions friends and family members. And with that being said, to all my loyal subscribers and to all of my fans, whether you've been here for a long time or you just showed up, I hope you all enjoyed the content. And I also hope you guys got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.